Do you ever feel challenged? You want to eat healthy, but cooking can be so cumbersome, particularly cooking consistently becomes such a chore. I totally get that. I understand that. And tonight I want to focus on the secret to effortless meals. There is such a thing. I'm Kirstin Nussgruber, and hello everybody. You can check me out on Kirstin'sCancerCare.com. And today, the tip that I want to offer you in about 10 minutes, that's all, is how you can really achieve making effortless meals, because that's what we need to be able to do if we want to cook on a consistent basis. And I'm talking weekday cooking. I'm not talking weekend cooking or fun cooking, maybe when we have friends coming over, or special occasion cooking. No, I'm talking every single day. How do we eat healthy? So let's backtrack a little bit, and I'm going to confess here that I do not cook from scratch every single day. You might be shocked at that, but I eat home-cooked meals almost every single day, and that's one of the little tips here that I'm going to be talking to you about, namely is getting the mindset right, that we don't have to slave away in the kitchen every single day, but we can actually incorporate it in such a way that we can eat healthily every day, we can eat home-cooked meals every single day, and we can whip something up from scratch very fast and very quick if we have this one particular secret to an effortless meal. And what I want to focus on today is this. The number one secret to effortless meals is to ensure that you are prepared with staples in your house. Now, these staples are in the categories of perishables, yes, absolutely, as well as non-perishables. So we do want to have a certain stocked pantry, which will make it possible for us to sometimes, when we just at the end of a day and we haven't really had much time to prepare, but we want to eat healthily, we want to throw together a quick meal, you can do that by having staples at hand. And that just takes a little bit of planning, of prepping ahead, but basically making sure that you never run low on your stock of staples. So what are they? I'm going to take you through a mental tour of various areas in my kitchen, and I'm not in there now because it's dark and I've got the family upstairs, so it'll have to be my books in the background. Part of them will be recipe books there, but imagine, as I'm going to take you through sections of my kitchen where I keep certain staples that help me come up with a meal quickly and help me get it together quickly as well. So let's start with the frozen section. So in my freezer, and I do have a freezer in my fridge and also chest freezer, I always have certain staples in there. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through every single item here. That will be a bit boring. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things for you that's going to make it easy for you to whip something up. So staples in the freezer section is always something to do with chicken. Now, is that a whole chicken? Is it chicken drumsticks? Is it skinless chicken thighs? Or is it chicken breasts? Anything related to chicken, you will always find in my freezer chest if you open that up. That's on the animal protein side, and the other animal protein side that I always have there is some ground meat. Yes, we do occasionally eat red meat, not a lot, but we do that. And one of the staples, and when I say staples, I mean it's there all the time. I'm never out of that. As soon as I take the last piece out, it goes on the shopping list, and the next time I go shopping, I replenish that. Will be some form of ground meat, and usually that's beef or buffalo meat from our local farm, and the beef I get either from the organic section in the supermarkets, or even we have a local farm here too that isn't officially organic but is as clean as it can get, and that's fine for my purposes as well. But those are the things, for example, in the freezer section from an animal protein that are always there. I also, in my freezer section, always have frozen soup stock. Now, is that bone broth, or is that vegetable stock, or is that chicken stock? or even fish stock. I do that as well. But why? Because we want to be able to make soup very quickly, and we want the soup to have flavor and be full of nutrients. And when you make your own soup stock freeze it in batches. And if you make a whole stock pot full of soup, you can easily get 6 to 8 big glass mason jars of stock out of that you can freeze, and that will be 6 to 8 different soups because it's very concentrated. Remember, you don't need to have all the liquid soup stock. You just use one of those in your normal soup because it's a very concentrated flavor, and you can just add normal water to it as well. So that's basically the freezer section. Now, when we move to the pantry section, what are my staples there? I'm thinking cooking sauces, soups, casseroles, slow cookers. I'm thinking roasting in the oven. Think about the chicken that I want to roast. Maybe think about a fish that I want to make. Think about a soup that I want to make. Certain liquids such as coconut milk and crushed tomatoes, for example, that's always there as well. Why? Because it's easy. You just basically throw these things into a pot. It immediately adds flavor, it adds some good healthy fat, and it adds that comfort level that you want, especially now in winter when you want some warm, nourishing food. And preparing chicken, like, for example, skinless chicken thighs that I did the other night with using crushed tomatoes. So I really spiced them well, and we'll get to the spices too, and poured over some crushed tomatoes, and then that got baked in the oven. Ooh, delicious, really warming, nourishing food, and you can serve that with one side if you include a couple of veggies in that. So coconut milk, for example, then we have crushed tomatoes or chopped tomatoes, same thing. We can use that easily. Imagine getting a fresh slice of fish that you want to bake in the oven, and you can put some chopped tomatoes over that with a bit of dill or even some oregano, dried herbs, for example. Or if you have the fresh herbs, you can serve it afterwards with the fresh herbs. Delicious and very, very quick to make as well. But in addition to the staples, I also have, for example, lentils. I have a lot of different beans that I keep because cooking beans from scratch is very easy to do and it's very cost effective. But I also do keep some canned beans. I obviously make sure that the lining is BPA free, and the brands that use BPA free lining in their cans will actually say that on the label because they're proud, they want to announce that. So there's always that in the section as well. But for example, dried goods, the split red lentils, or dal as it is also called, very easy to add to soups without you having to pre-soak, and it's very cost effective and economical. The other dried staple that I always have in there is, for example, quinoa seeds, because quinoa is great to use in salads. It's a great plant protein. It's a tiny, tiny grain, which has a complete amino acid profile, meaning it's a complete protein, which we actually only find in animal protein. Quinoa is an exception in the plant proteins. And quinoa can also be used in soups. So think your traditional chicken noodle soup, but we want to stay away from gluten-containing pasta for various reasons. We can actually substitute the noodles with some quinoa. And there you have, you've added some protein as well, but you've also added some crunch to it, and you've just added a little bit of bulk to the soup as well. So let's rehash in my non-perishable staples that I always have at home. Coconut milk, because it's great for sauces and soups. Crushed tomatoes or chopped tomatoes, same thing, great for sauces or soups. Then to offer some some plant protein, so that would be lentils, or even some of the canned beans, chickpeas, for example, can also easily added to soups. Or if you want to do chili, a vegetarian chili, for example, or even if you want to mix it up, we want to reduce our red meat intake. So when we do a meat chili, we don't have too much meat in it. We can augment that with some beans, some kidney beans maybe, or chickpeas even, or even black beans as well. So those are other staples that you will always find in my pantry to whip up a quick meal. Then we get to the spice cupboard, and here, this is how you have fun in the kitchen. So make sure you have a dedicated space in your kitchen for all your spices, and that you have them displayed in a way where you have easy access to them so you can see what you have. So besides the staples, I will also have various spice blends, ready-made spice blends. And I'm highlighting that for you today because it makes cooking meals effortless, because the spice blends have been prepared for you. The ratios of the different flavors and the different spices, that is a given. You don't have to experiment. You don't have to figure out, is it going to taste good? It's there. It's a given. It's prepared for you. And the organic company that I use, Frontier Co-op, they have a range of different spice blends. They have in the curries, for example, they have tandoori masala mix, they have vindaloo curry mix, garam masala mix. Those are all different blends of different spices that, of course, you can create from scratch, but that means extra effort, and we're talking effortless tonight. So we want to focus on the spice blends that are ready-made for us. They're such a great asset in your spice cupboard, and they add so much more flavor than just the simple old salt and pepper. We want to create different dishes that taste differently, that are effortless to make, and spice blends are definitely a great bonus here as well. And then, of course, we have our fridge. So those are perishables in there. But how can I extend that? And there are certain perishables that you will always find in my fridge. And I'm referring to vegetables now, fresh whole vegetables. So some of these will last you more than a week if you store them the right way. And those would include the cabbages, like red cabbage or white cabbage. Then some of the greens, like especially collard greens and kale, those bunches are a little bit more sturdy, but even Swiss chard, and these are fresh bunches, right? They can last you for about a week in the fridge or even longer if you do the following. So when I come home from grocery shopping and I happened to buy them not at my farm, but at the supermarket, what I do is I strip them right away of their stems. So I then have the bunch of leaves left. I do not wash them because that would cause them to wilt, but I wrap them loosely in a paper towel and then slot them right back into the plastic bag in which I bought them in. And off they go into my vegetable drawer. The paper towel will absorb any of the liquid so that the greens don't wilt, but removing the stems right away, the stalks right away, you've cut out one step in the prep work. You can even take that further if you like. You could actually chop, say, kale or collard greens or Swiss chard. You could even roughly chop it already. Again, no washing, no rinsing at this point. You'll do that just before you use them. And that cuts out even one more step. So it's so much easier to grab that out of your fridge and put that into a meal. For example, like a dish like I did last night when I had grated cauliflower, for example. I did a side to my chicken that I roasted in the oven, and the side consisted of grated cauliflower. Now that's something that is done in a jiffy, literally in a jiffy, because you just need a grater. You take your whole head of cauliflower, you cut it in half, and you just start grating, and it goes so quick. If you think you need a food processor to do that, it'll take you so much longer to get the food processor out and then get it set up and afterwards have to clean it than to just have a good old sturdy grater in your hand, and literally in less than 5 minutes that whole head of cauliflower is grated. It goes that easy. That was part of my side. Plus I had Swiss chard, and I could chop that up and add that into that as well. Because I had pre-prepared that, it was so easy to just get that going. And that's what effortless meals is all about, is to just have these kind of little extra steps ready. So a head of cauliflower is also always in my drawer. Carrots last for a long time there too. And then any of the harder vegetables like fennel, for example, that can also last for a little bit longer. I buy the baby spinach and arugula, some of the greens. Those are actually buy ready, the baby greens, small versions of it, the pre-washed versions of it, because again, they're quick and easy to grab and take. So the point I'm trying to make is when we have these vegetables in our fridge, they're there. And we don't quite know what to cook yet. We don't have this meal in our head. We can just open the fridge door and we see what we have there. And we think it's always easy. You either throw together a salad, so the ingredients will be raw, or you can do a very quick stir fry, like a side dish, or you roast them. So those are 3 options in which you can very easily and very quickly serve a variety of vegetables. Roasting here too, usually batch roast. So then you have roasted vegetables to use to just reheat or just incorporate either in a salad or in a stir fry throughout the week. So that's another very quick and easy trick to ensure that you have quick and easy access to good, wholesome vegetables and a variety of them, because that's what we want to do. We want to increase our servings of vegetables, the color, the vibrancy, the fiber in our diet. And by batch roasting them, as it were, that's just something that basically helps me too. So for example, let's take the cauliflower head. Instead of grating it, I could have also roasted that. I could have just cut out the stalk, and you just break it apart into the little florets, a little bit of olive oil, and it just needs to be the basic olive oil. It doesn't have to be the extra virgin olive oil because you're going to be roasting it, or avocado oil too. A little bit of salt, a little bit of some of my spice blends maybe, and there you go, and you roast it ahead. And then that can be part of your, say, green salad. So you will always have a pack of greens in your fridge to whip up a quick salad, but you want to add things to it. And roasted vegetables, roasted beets, red or golden beets, or even roasted cauliflower, for example, roasted fennel, roasted leeks. Those things are good additions to salad. And then it's a combination of fresh, raw salad greens with roasted vegetables. And that can be different depending on what you have in your fridge. So circling back to what do I always have in my vegetable drawer in the fridge? Carrots, 1 or 2 cabbages, the red or the white cabbage. Fennel is, if it's in season, yes, it will always be there, same thing. I will always have some greens. So spinach and arugula or salad greens will always be there. Again, so easy to grab them. I mean, they make that so easy for us these days. And then the bunches of greens, because I have prepared them, I just took this extra step when I came home after grocery shopping to prepare them so that they're easy to grab out. Some of those greens are always in there because we want to get our vitamins, our minerals from whole foods, and we need to have a variety of different greens. And we don't just want to eat raw greens, we also want to have them cooked or lightly steamed to reduce oxalic acid and to make it a bit more digestible as well. And so that's an easy way to have them ready too, is by just preparing them in the way that I described. So the secret to effortless meals is to have ingredients handy that you know how to put them together. Now, if you say to me, how do I know how to put them together? Because I'm just not creative in the kitchen. Well, that's my other little trick that you use. And that's even what I do when I try a new recipe. And I will make another confession here, is I never follow a recipe completely. I get my ideas from different recipes and I throw it all together. But I know that many of you will need kind of a structured recipe. So when you make something and it worked out for you and for your family, make a record of that and keep it handy and repeat it. And very often you can use that recipe as a template and just exchange it with other ingredients. So you don't have to come up creatively with a different recipe, but just exchange ingredients and you have a different dish. Exchange some of the spices used and you have a different dish. Exchange some of the liquids used and you have a different dish. If, for example, I'm going to go back to the examples that I used earlier, if the recipe calls for crushed tomatoes, use coconut milk instead, for example. Just change out some of the ingredients from the staples that you actually have, and you have a whole new dish, but you have kind of a template that you can follow, a recipe template that you can follow. And I'll be talking more about that either next week or the other week. But my month of March is going to be focused a lot on just cooking wholesome meals. How can we actually get that done? And then the other final trick that I wanted to say is have the tools handy. My kitchen is a workplace. it's not a interior decor area. My counters don't have to be absolutely clean of the utensils that I need to prepare meals, because just also psychologically, that is a hindrance to you being able to whip up an effortless meal. If you have to bend down, search in your closets and your cupboards for the right tools, that is already for many of us a deterrent. Have the things that you need regularly handy. My cutting board is always on the counter, one or two at least. My sturdy, really sharp knives are out on the counter, not even in a drawer, on the counter. The sieve that I have that I use to rinse the fresh produce is actually always in the sink. It's just there. I don't even pack it away. So to me, having easy access to also the tools that you use, utensils that you use to, for example, stir around a stir fry or stir a soup, they're also on the counter. It's a workstation for me. It's the same as when you go into a tool shed and the tools are all there handy and you just need to reach for them. That's what's going to make a meal effortless too, because you don't have to figure out where everything is or pack everything away. It's right there and you can use it in a flash. So I hope some of those tips that I gave you are going to help you whip up some effortless meals. Please tune in again next week here, as I'm going to concentrate on more a little bit on how do you actually get these meals done? How do you know what to cook, right? Because that's always a question, is what am I supposed to cook? Well, I'm going to focus on that next week. So tune in again. Also, more tips and tricks on my website, Kirstin'sCancerCare.com. I share a lot of recipes there. I have some interesting blogs too. Have a look there. I have a book that you can also find on my website. You can actually download a free chapter from there too. Have a look and see. There's a whole good fat section on healthy nutrition too. I have a program that you will find on my website, a self-guided program, the first steps to take control of your cancer care, which really teaches you healthy living, the first steps that you can do. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on my YouTube channel, and you can even find me on Apple Tunes, on Stitcher, and even now on Spotify. So a lot of little tips that I share, they're all short segments. You can find me on these various platforms. Look for me, subscribe, please, like, please. I need that engagement for these platforms to elevate me and make me available to you and to anyone else who could benefit. So thank you very much for listening and take care for now.